Because if you were to put your own, your whole savings into that youth building, and somebody goes and smashes all the windows and everything when they're drinking, that's going to make you ticked off because you put half of your money into it.
What it would be is peer pressure in a good direction, like peer pressure not to be bad, to stay sober and everything.
If the government were to give you money for the youth, how would you use it and spend it for the teenagers of the communities? And the community, like, your own community?
Try to fix up Stringer Hall. That's what they wanted to do anyways. Like Susan McCauley from the
band office?
Yeah, she wanted to fix up Stringer Hall and make a whole bunch of stuff like, I don't know, like a pole rink and a roller skating rink and all stuff like that.
But they said it'll, like the last meeting I went to, they said it'll cost over 18 million or something like that. 8 million or something like that.
Stringer Hall's so
just
old
to fix it.
So it's cheaper just to make a new one, eh? Just to tear that one down.
Yeah, and all these governments were trying to, they went there one at a time to the government to try to open that place, see what they can do with it. Because Cease wanted to have a roller skating rink in there now, on one side of the gym,
and then she wanted to have a gym, like with a whole bunch of exercise equipment and weights and stuff. And a theater.
But I figure if all the companies and people that are trying to get that building get all together and go, they'll get it. But just not one person, you gotta go all at once.
They're only interested in profit though, probably. Like, they don't care about kids.
Well, if the government cares so much about drug and alcohol abuse, they put up so much conferences.
Exactly, like they do all these studies and they give us conferences like this, but they're not willing to shell out a couple of million so we have something to actually help us with these problems. It's just a waste. All they think about is making money.
What would you guys do to get the adults to understand your inside feelings about?
Just get them in a group and just get a group of kids like us right now and sit them down and talk to them about it.
Would you guys do that? Be willing to do this? Like if it were to happen?
If they're respectable people, they'd understand.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think they'd listen to just talk. Like, we'd have to prove it by doing something, like raising money or something.
Can't trust the government no more.
Political machine gun.
How do your friends treat you in school, like on a regular basis? Do you think teenagers ourselves need to be more respectful to one another? Do you think that needs to be happening?
Well, with your good friends, of course there's always respect in friendships. Maybe with people you don't know, there aren't too many courteous kids around, I don't think. It could use some improvement.
How do you feel about this youth conference we have right now, going on, and the big shots in town? And
I'll tell you right now, it's not going to do anything.
What would you guys like happening in this?
Well, like we told that lady, what was her name?
Bishwanda?
Yeah. I think a major thing is they should separate the juniors from the seniors. Because those juniors, they just can't sit still and listen to it. They don't understand half of what we're talking about anyways. Like, they brought 5 and 6s from Sam's out here.
Yeah, like I was telling that lady,
the stuff that we're
it
talking
seems
about.
like, the exercises they do in the mornings and stuff, it seems like it's all aimed
just all
at
fun and
little kids.
games, and that's all what they're after, and then
I mean,
when
how
the
can,
comes.
we can't really relate to that, because we just see all these little kids up there having fun. And, they're all talking and everything during the lectures, so of course we're not going to listen if we get distracted.
Most of the friends I know who do drugs and alcohol, like, they're going to this youth conference now, and like they won't stop doing alcohol and drugs just because this is happening.
You know what would
this won't change people.
It won't change people.
What do you think would make the students change? What do you have to do to make them change?
It's education is about it, like starting from elementary school or whatever.
Or, like I told her too, about 3 years ago, our guidance class went to the family hall, and Mrs. Doreen Bush and Mr. Morrison, I'm not sure if you guys did it or not in guidance class, but we all went to the family hall and just all sat in a big circle, our all grade 9 class, both of them.
And you get to know each other.
Yeah, and it brought our class just real close
Really
together.
close,
That's what I think
and
they
it-
should do with senior highs.
It helps.
It's just
Self-esteem. I'm trying to say, like, it helps self-esteem a lot. I think a lot of kids who drink and stuff, that's what they need. They need to be accepted. I think more workshops on self-esteem and how to deal with your problems would help. Not just telling us what's going to happen if we do drugs. We know that anyways.
Like if we just separate the gym and just put the juniors in that one side, and we should just all get in just sort of a big circle or something and just talk. I know it's hard at first, but I'm sure we can work it out somehow.
Basically, this is our job to, like, not do drugs and alcohol. Like your influence on it,
Mhm.
your parents, your family, your peers.
And I'm sure if we all talk
And
to
it's
each other.
yourself inside you that you want to do it.
Yeah.
No one's like,
It's
no one's
influence.
forcing you.
Yeah.
It's yourselves that want to do
But lots
this.
of them just want to be accepted.
If you
And
were,
I think that's the only way they can be.
if you weren't around it so much, like, don't think
You wouldn't do it.
It's so easy to get. It's just so easy to get. Anywhere you go.
Especially
I think
up
the
here.
cops should really crack
Like
down on
especially in
it.
this
Like
town
some
because
cops are even dealers here.
because we have a lot of drug dealers in town,
Exactly.
and we have how many bars do we have in town? We have a liquor store. This is the second liquor store they built now.
And you know how much money went through that? Like, we didn't really need that anyways.
well,
What would you like? Okay, safe. Okay, just wait. Thinking.
So,
Okay.
good questions. so
Okay,
far.
then. Okay, like say tomorrow morning. What would you guys do? Like not tomorrow morning. If we had another youth conference,
Tomorrow afternoon, you mean?
what would you guys like do for you guys to get interested into it? Like just go for it. Like push yourselves.
Do things about.
Okay, what would you want to see? Like instead of these kids jumping on balloons trying to bust
I
them,
just want the kids
busting
to-
them with your hips.
I just-
talking about problems that kids have, how they can deal with problems like with friends, with boyfriends, with your family.
And just all the kids to talk together.
the parents should be brought
Like,
into
just
this.
get-
too.
Yeah, I think parents should be involved.
Do you think this
Parents
should?
come.
Do you think this youth conference now should be for the community also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think well,
How would you guys feel if the parents were to come in and
That'd be a lot better.
anybody
They
else?
would understand what we're going through if we just talk to each other.
Yeah, like parents, they don't understand teenagers. They think we're just being rebellious and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they think we're just being rebellious and stuff. And if they just knew, like, the kind of strains we were under,
Mm-hmm.
like, sometimes they just can't understand. They
It's a
won't
communication problem.
lack of
It's a lack of,
communication.
yeah.
Yeah, and if they could just come in here and get professionals to talk to them like they're talking to us, it'll be better because it'll be both parties getting help.
How to help your kids and.
It doesn't just work if one person's trying and the other one isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily their fault because maybe they don't know how.
Because you need to do it as a group.
I just think we should get into a group and just all the kids just talk to each other and tell them their problems and stuff. I think it would help.
If the teachers gave you a chance to do this, would you guys go for it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Instead of being an alcoholic.
Because, like when I go to meetings, they say if you want something, you have to go for it. Like just not talk about it, but go for it.
Mhm.
If you want something done, you have to do it.
It's easier said than done, right? That's what they say.
Because we just might be sitting here talking for nothing. But,
Next Friday.
good idea for us to do this in the school. Like have a meeting with the teachers and tell them how we feel.
And it's
or,
too late if we just do it tomorrow? Like
Well, it's up to you. Like
we were talking to her and she thinks we should for sure separate the two groups.
well, because that's the last day of the youth conference
Yeah.
tomorrow. If you guys
and
want
just
to
make
do
the
that,
most
you
of it
can
tomorrow as much as we
talk to
can.
Beach Wanda.
And not like some TA groups are hard to they can't talk to each other. And they don't feel comfortable with the people they're around.
Mhm.
Because in our TA there's only like 2 senior highs and the rest are all just, well, 3 senior highs.
3 or
and the
4.
and the rest are all just juniors.
Mhm.
I think age group was a big problem. They made a big mistake putting seniors and juniors together.
Would you guys feel a lot better if the senior highs were alone
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
talking about it?
And a lot of the junior highs haven't. So the junior highs are just seeing it from a point of view that they've never done it before and they're never going to do it and stuff. And senior highs, they already know the score on it. And like they won't help.
Mhm.
find out how they can.
So you
stop
think
it.
that the senior high should be separated from juniors because
Definitely.
you went through this and
Mhm.
they never been through it yet? Yeah, I think that should be done because they're having games and like we're just
We're
about
sitting
adults.
They're just looking forward for the games and they sit in the
Mhm.
morning. And I overheard a couple of kids in front of me.
And class is off.
Yeah, when we got, we were sitting down and waiting for that doctor. And the two kids were going, so when is we going to start the games? What kind of games are we going to play today? What kind of sickening games is what they said. Eh?
Mhm.
I didn't understand half of the point from the games that they were playing.
So you think they should, like, when the senior highs get alone together, you guys should talk about alcohol and drugs and the problems youth are facing in the 80s. And
Yeah, like we have to be realistic about it because how many, grade 6s and 7s go party compared to how many grade 11s and 12s?
mhm.
I mean, there's just such
It's
such
getting
a gap
worse.
there. Yeah.
Junior
Especially
highs
for
are-
juniors, yeah. Because Mr. Kunder even said when he used to when he was principal in junior high, saw lots of kids coming stolen there too. Little kids.
What would you tell to the younger students, like in junior high,
Don't
about
do it.
like about alcohol and drugs? Like, what would you do to them to scare them about alcohol and drugs?
Can't really scare them.
Yeah, you can't do nothing. You can start there.
They have to try it themselves. You just have to tell them like there's a lot of risk going with it.
It's like when you're reading these pamphlets and they show you statistics that you'll eventually die from drinking or smoking or doing drugs, but in reality, like living right now, you just can't accept it, saying, no, I don't think I'll die from either one of these things.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's difficult to believe because, especially when adults come around and say, why do you drink? Like if you just got out of jail, you were in jail for one night because you were too intoxicated the day before. They say, why do you drink now? Have you learned something from it? And they just basically can't practice what they preach. They don't know how we feel.
Exactly. Good point.
They really don't know how we feel, and they think we feel the same way as them because through the years, life has gotten easier. Everything is just a plug-in wall, switches and everything. And we don't, sometimes we're too lazy to even turn on switches.
Mhm.
So what's the use? I mean, like, why do adults keep
Bragging to us
bragging
about
and
it.
getting mad?
Just
and
giving
getting
us
angry?
lectures and then.
There's no point to it. They don't know how we feel.
well, this
They have to
conference
sit down
shouldn't be
one-on-one
for
on it.
us.
You can't talk to them because they think they know it all.
This conference should be for adults.
Because they think,
As
like,
well.
I think they think we're silly little kids just going through it, eh? But some teenagers are like adults, grown-ups, and we have feelings just like
just
they
in
do.
a few years, we're all going to be, either
Husband and wife
Yeah.
and kids.
married or else in the workforce or whatever. We're going to be adults. And if they're just treating us like little kids now,
We might
it's
as
not going to help us.
Because I think the only thing that can help us is ourselves and talking to someone our age. Because when you talk to older people, they like bring up the past and like it's the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of kids think they're the only person that has a certain problem, and if they tell someone else, then
think
they'll
it's-
realize how many other kids have the same problems they do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get a bad reputation by using drugs too. The things you do when you're drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys, would you be scared if you were to see someone like that has been through it all and sick? How would you guys feel
I think
about
that's a
it?
good
Would you
idea, is
feel
to-
scared?
It's going to scare you, but of course you think,
It'll
well,
make you
I'm never
think.
going to be that way.
Yeah.
Like in real life, eh? Because like we see it on TVs,
But it's not as.
but it's not like, it's just not there.
Not
for
It's
us.
on the screen.
Yeah.
It's not beside us, not
Yeah.
in front of us, not below us.
If there was a person right there, I think it would make kids think twice.
If I were to see a person that has cancer in the lungs or something, I think I'd be freaked.
Yeah.
Like the way their voices
Yeah.
or their stomach get big from liquor.
Mm-hmm.
To see these things in real life.
Yeah.
I think it would scare me, that's for sure, because I think I've dropped everything.
The problem with teenagers nowadays is like they think they're so good, like nothing can happen to them. Like, everything's just written down on paper. Like they say you can get it, but you think you can't because there's so much of a percentage that aren't alcoholics.
Yeah, like every Friday, like in school, friends come up to each other and ask, "Where's the party?" and "Are you drinking tonight? Do you have any dope?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, that's, if you want to be a grown-up, you wouldn't be doing that as a teenager.
Like, it's okay if you drink as long as you know, like, as
You know
long as
how
you
to
can handle
handle
it.
But yeah, exactly, when you're grown up. But grown-ups in this town,
Like
all
even
kinds
grown-ups
of them
are,
do
even
it.
grown-ups are like, you know,
They
little
act like kids.
I think
They
even us
just
were
drink.
more mature than they handle their booze.
Exactly.
Because when you see them staggering out of the bar on a Friday night, can't even walk.
Or even see them in the brass rail
See,
every
that
night,
shows that they
same place.
can't. It shows that they can't handle their booze.
The only difference between adults and the young people nowadays is the age difference, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But like you may see it, like, take for us for instance, say one night we all went one partying one night and we're walking on the street just laughing and yelling our lungs out, and you go past Mackenzie and hear music, and you go inside, you see some people pass out on chairs and all that.
Yeah.
Basically there's no difference.
Yeah,
There's
what's
no difference.
worse?
Just difference of how do you look at things. How do a person look at things?
Like they're saying by, you know, when you turn 19 or whatever, it's all right to be that way because you're the legal age. But if you're underage and you're like that, you've got a big problem.
It's stupid.
Yeah, like, what's the difference, you know? If you're drunk, you're drunk. You're passed out, you're passed out. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Because even some young kids at our age are scared to admit that they have a drinking problem.
Mm-hmm.
Even I see some kids that are like that. And I just look, wow. Like when I see them on a Friday night standing. Even when I go to another community, I see kids about 7 or 8, they're walking down and they're blasted out of their mind by sniffing glue or gas. And I think that's stupid because the role models are there to help them.
You don't need drugs and alcohol to have a good time.
Because
But then again, we should have something to get our mind off it too. There is nothing here right now at all. Everything's usually closed.
for us to get our
right?
mind off drugs and alcohol, we have to have something.
Well, you can talk to your friends.
You can always be there with your friends.
Maybe
But not
sit
too many
around.
people want to admit it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm sure not too many want to admit that they have a problem. Unless y'all getting big.
There's no trusting them. Like you
Sometimes.
tell a person something and you're scared he's gonna splat out of the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
That he's going to use it against you.
Just
Like
can't
if-
trust no one.
If you were to tell a person something very personal, and then you thought you were to trust that person, you see that what you told that person is in the newspaper.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. If you say something to a friend and you think you trust them, next thing it's all over town.
Yeah.
Some kid comes up to you and asks you about it.
So I think even some teenagers should have trustful and honesty in them. Some do and some don't. There's always one good crowd and one bad crowd in a pile of people.
That's where things like the helpline would come in good. For people like that who don't have anyone.
How do you feel about adults counseling you with problems? Do you think adults should counsel you, or someone your own age?
Some
They
of
got
their
the
own.
problem themselves, so it's better to talk to a person your own age. It's easier.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if our parents were sitting right here with us, we couldn't say everything we're saying.
No, we
Yeah.
couldn't say any of this, probably.
Or just probably look at you later on and said you're stupid or something.
Or when you get
Put you
outside,
down.
they pound your head.
'Cause they just, I think that's
Because
because
I don't
they just
think-
don't want to face it.
We should
They
just
don't want
make
to
a
face
tape
the
for
truth
them.
that
Because they feel that they're failing. It's not that they're failing. It's just, I don't know.
They like authority.
Yeah.
We should just make up a tape for them like this, but get more people into it, and just let them listen to it.
Maybe this tape they could show it, you know, to parents and stuff.
most teenagers, when they drink, some of them don't even go home, like they run away or whatever. And
or else parents let them stay out all night. If you're gonna let your kids stay out all night and you have an idea what they're doing, you can't really blame the kid.
And because some kids will run away because look what happens in the families. The parents sometimes aren't even best role models for their own kids. Today I heard that 2 kids are missing.
And what are their parents doing?
And this is because the parents should be good role models for their young ones. And the parents should sit down and listen to what their young ones have to say to them.
Depends who the parents are, though, if they could handle something like that.
Because I think there's, not only teenagers have problems, but parents have problems too. But in another way, it's hard because we've got the booze and we got the drugs and we got this, all this
Like 20
other
years
shit.
ago, I'm sure drugs and alcohol, I'm sure it wasn't like this, like it wasn't as easy to get. We're going out with things like AIDS and stuff now.
And all these new diseases
Yeah,
coming around.
So much
it's so
pressure,
different for us, and parents say, oh no, it's not different, it's just the same as when I grew up.
And
But
like
it's not.
It really scares us just because, like, you might catch that or you
Yeah.
something like that. And it really scares you. One day you wake up in the morning,
Yeah, you went to the doctor.
you don't know what you have. But it's pretty spinny because I think I'd rather go back and live in those days without all these stuff coming around.
But in a way, in those days, they probably had lots of diseases, but they just didn't have the medical stuff that we do to
But I
figure
think
out what it
I
was.
think today we're lucky that
Yeah.
we have everything. Look,
Like
we
they
got,
don't
we
have
got clean clothes, we got furniture and everything. In those days, you had to make furniture out of wood. And I think for myself, I think I'm lucky. I always
Living
have
at this
clean
time.
clothes and living in a house, not in a little tent. Getting firewood when you wake up in the morning.
Or you have to go to an outhouse to go there.
But I think we're lucky that we're living in this view, like in today, with all these stuff,
No, but
mechanical
the
stuff.
point is, like, families back then, they worked together. Like, they're a lot closer than we
Yeah.
are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't
Because-
such a big problem.
Because now we
with
have
that.
everything. Instead of facing problems, you know, parents will just sit down and flip on the TV. Or else they'll go out.
See, in the old days, they had the farm and all that, and they all worked together.
Yeah, like the father and son, they get to know each other, they'd work together.
And the mother and daughter
Parents get
cooked.
divorced, and if they don't like their kid, they just send it to the other parent.
And now it's difficult because we have alcohol and drugs in the family. And that doesn't bring families close together. It brings them far apart. I notice that, I read about it. I go to
See
many
it too.
meetings and I hear about it. That alcohol and drugs brings you far apart, it doesn't bring you close together. And that's a problem that people have. But after this youth conference, I said, I think that we shouldn't let this just drop off here. I think we should continue what we're learning from these people and from our, just keep up the good work and see you again.
After school hours, the facilitators and organizers would get together and give feedback on the sessions and the students. After the second day, the students had had such an impact on some of the facilitators that they decided to share their experiences.
I was laying in lack abyss in my bed, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I'm sure bloody miserable. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm really, really miserable, and I don't want to live like this, you know, and I don't want to live drunk. I don't like being drunk anymore. I don't like being high all the time, and I can't live like that. I can't live like this. You know, maybe one of my alternatives would be to commit suicide. That might be the only possible solution because I couldn't handle life either way. And I said to myself at that time, well, geez, you know, maybe I better start believing in this higher power business that they talked about in the AA program. And I did that, and after that, things went just like clockwork, bang, bang, bang. You know, jobs, meeting nice people, all these kind of things. It was a tremendous change.
So I sat there, and pretty soon I started shaking. My legs were going about 50 miles an hour, my whole body was vibrating, and I thought, my God, I'm going to explode. And I looked straight at her, and I said to her, I told her to shut up. I said, I can't stand anymore. Talk about feelings, because unless we talk about our feelings, and if we hold everything in, we're never going to deal with anything. Like, that's what I learned, but you've got to deal with your feelings. Talk them over with somebody. You know, somebody that you know you can trust and confide in, and get them out. But this woman, and then she looked at me, and of course she just laughed at me, went, "You never say nothing. For 6 months you sit there, and you never say nothing, and then you tell me to shut up. What right?" And I thought, oh my God, let me out of here. So I took off. I started running, but they could lock the elevator door so you can't even get out of that place. Oh my God, what am I going to do? So they took me in the room, and they told me, "Hey, you're right on. You were right. You're not supposed to be talking about anybody, but feelings." And from there on, I started sharing.
I don't know if any of you in the movies, or maybe even in your own lives, have seen the Indian sacred pipe. You know, it's a redstone pipe with a long wooden thing. That sacred pipe, that man let me share that pipe with him, let me smoke that pipe with him one time. And that's the day I stopped drinking. I knew that if I got involved in that way of life, if I start to take on all the things about being an Indian that were positive, I wouldn't be able to drink again. And I stopped that day.
Everyone gathered in the school gym for the last afternoon. They were separated in small groups and wrote their comments on how they would improve the school, their lives, and the impact that the 3-day conference had on them.
What would you like to see happen in the classroom about all the issues you're talking about? No free time.
New material. Up-to-date books. Up-to-date. What did you say? Yeah, material.
The Youth Awareness and Action Conference ended with a drum dance. The highlight of the evening was a performance by Native artist Evan Adams.